I could hear you fine before. Yeah, it was good.
All right, cool.
It's just a bit laggy because I think the internet, it's like traveling days again. Um,
Yeah,
it's like Thailand or something with shitty Wi-Fi.
yeah, man. Welcome to my life every single day.
Dude, I was supposed to be there already,
Yeah.
right? Last
Oh,
month, yeah, last month we had a timeshare booked in PV and um had the flights booked. Everything was ready to go.
yeah.
And then this whole thing hit and they canceled actually the timeshare, and then they canceled the flights in actually we have another flight to Germany next month, and they haven't canceled it yet.
That one probably is almost definitely gonna, just because, like, I mean, Europe is like super closed off from the U.S. now, is what I heard at least.
Yeah.
But who knows? Everything closed, so like all the hotels are all closed. Like all the tour companies are all closed. I don't know, at least at the peak, probably 70% of restaurants were closed, and the ones that were was like takeaway and delivery only. So yeah, man, stuff came to a pretty grinding halt, and it's still pretty shut down. The only difference right now is that there's a few more restaurants open in the last like week. But yeah, man, I'm not surprised that your timeshare got canceled. I mean, everyone got sent home, like from the hotels. They have like a couple people just making sure the place doesn't fall apart while it's empty.
Yeah, seriously. I know hotels shut down completely. I mean, they were already struggling, like we mentioned, with the short-term rentals coming in, Airbnb kind of taking over the travel stuff, and then hostels obviously for the younger kids. But yeah, they're forcing people out, and I know they're really struggling. I know one of the bailouts was for the hospitality industry, not just hotels, but restaurants, everything. They're all still closed here, man. And they're going to stay closed in LA. LA just extended the lockdown until next month, the beginning of next month. So June 1st.
Beginning of next month.
Huh?
The beginning of next month.
Yeah, June 1st, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what we were at too. All of this month was supposed to be quarantine. And now they're like talking about gradually opening the stuff up, like kind of like testing out or by permission opening up some things. So see how it goes. But hotels definitely are, for the most part, still closed. They're just
we should probably get into the questions if we're already if we're already talking about it. If we just start the podcast like this, people are gonna come in like, wait, did I miss like the first half or something? We just eased into the conversation with no questions or anything. But what I was gonna say, dude, about the actually, let's just do the introductions right now, and then I'll jump into what I was gonna say about the whole about the quarantine bubble. Like everyone is gonna like pop, I think. But yeah, so welcome back everyone to Sterling's World. We are still covering the coronavirus. This is World Corona Chronicles, I believe number 14 now. And we're here with my friend Mar in Mexico. What's up, Mar? Mar and I we met in Australia, hung out again in France. He did a bunch of traveling, but I'll let him introduce himself a little bit. What's going on, Mar? Tell us a little bit about yourself, huh?
Man, how's it going? Yeah, I don't know. I've born and raised in Mexico. I lived in the States for a while. Went to school up there, university, college, whatever you want to call it. And after working for a few years in home, I went traveling for a few more years. So yeah, you mentioned when we met in Australia, that was kind of like the beginning of my trip. I don't know, I was maybe 6 or 8 months in, and that was about 4 years ago. And I just got back home to Puerto Vallarta area. I'm actually in Punta de Mita, and I got back in December. So yeah, about 4.5 years traveling. Did Europe, Asia, Central America, and Australia, New Zealand, and yeah, it was cool. I really enjoyed it, and now I'm back home. It's a touristy area, not right now, but what we here. So what I'm mostly doing is rentals, vacation rentals. I've also, through the course of my professional life, done a lot of construction. So I'm still doing that. I have some remodel projects. I just finished one, and I'm starting another one at the end of this month, hopefully. Some wood. And yeah, so that's me.
Cool, man. I didn't know you did 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Dang, dude. We must have left around
Yeah.
the same. We must have left around the same time, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, like you're traveling and working, right? So it's not just all beach stays and full moon parties, but yeah, it was 4.5 years that I was like away from home, just in different parts of the world. Yeah.
Damn. So I left. I told you, like 3 days ago was my 5-year sabbatical anniversary of when I left the States. So I'm guessing you left. If you did 4.5 years, I did just about 4. So you must have left around the same exact time, maybe even before. You said it was the beginning of your
Yeah.
travel? Australia was the beginning?
Yeah. So let's see. I met you after I was in Australia for about 5 or 6 months, and I did, I think, 2 months before that. So yeah, about 7 or 8 months into my time when we met.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did the same. That sounds about the same. Because I was 8 months. I was 8 or 9 months before I went to Australia. Like, I think 7.5 months in Europe, and
Yeah.
then I landed in Australia November, end of November, beginning of December. I bought my van, built the bed in the back. Yeah, you know, you had the same setup. But
That was the best, dude, being in the camper van, man. Like, happiest, most chill time. Like, just, that's, anybody that's watching this and doesn't know about the van life, you should check it out. Do it, even if it's just for a few weeks. It's the best. Yeah, no. So if you got to Australia, we actually got there at the same time. So I got there in November too, as well. So you must have left just like 4 or 5 months before me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 8 months in it was 8 months in Europe from May till December. So just about 8 months, 7.5 months, and then I came to Australia. Bought the van, lived the freaking van life. Yo, by the way, Mar, you're absolutely right. If nobody knows about the van life, do it. Like, don't be a pussy. Sorry, bad word to say, but don't be scared to do it, because I bought my van for $1,400 Australian, which is like 1,100 US. I bought it. I went to Bunnings, which is like their Home Depot, and I built my bed in there for like $120. Bought a mattress on Gumtree, which is Gumtree, which is like their Craigslist. Yeah. And then just got the pillows and got everything you needed, and that was it. And then you got your transportation covered, you got your accommodation covered. And it's not like, yes, you're living in a van, and that it sounds kind of daunting and scary or whatever, maybe hippie if you will, but the coolest shit, right? You can go park your van on a beach and sleep and wake up with the waves in the morning.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think I really understood the concept of freedom until I was in my van. Like, I think if you want to understand what it is to be free in life, like, you need to live in some sort of mobile vehicle, a mobile home, just, a trailer or a van or even your car. I mean, you can do that. You can do the same thing you just described with an SUV. I mean, some people do station wagons. Just go for it. And, like, obviously, if you have a lot of stuff at home, just, calling back or thinking about what's going on at home, and all the mortgage and this and that. Yeah, like, that's gonna mess with you a little bit, but it's still gonna be super awesome. You know that wherever you are with your car, that's all you need. You got your food, you got your shelter, you're set. And that's just, it's super freeing and super liberating. It's amazing. It's a great experience for sure.
Did you have the little cooker that you buy at Bunnings as well?
Yeah, I had one of those for like it was like if I wanted to cook outside, I could do that. Or actually, when I used it more is when it was like rainy and horrible weather out. I could cook inside my van because I had a full kitchen pull out in the back. So the back end of my van opened up, and the whole wall was just the whole kitchen.
That's
like
right.
a sink or like a 2-burner gas stove. It was a really sweet kitchen. But you did have to kind of be outside. So if it was like really windy or like rainy or both, like I'd take a little propane and go inside and cook in that. So yeah, it's good to have backups.
I cooked in my van one time just because it was raining as shit outside, and I had like a girlfriend of mine was staying in the van, and we wanted to go to Suffolk, which was nearby, and we wanted to go to Suffolk and like camp by the water, and we ended up doing it, but then it just started pouring down rain, and I didn't have the setup you had with the kitchen in the back and all that stuff. So I just popped up the top and started cooking, and then everything started getting wet and sandy, and I'm like, fuck, man. So we just shut it, and it was cold, so we shut it and just cooked inside, and it warmed up inside. Everything was saucy, and it was good, man. But yeah, it's the freedom. It's like, hey, what do you want to do today? I don't know. Let's just drive to a beach. Okay, which beach? That one? Sure. Just pick a spot on a map and go there and stay the night, and then next morning go do something else.
Yeah, no, it's sweet. I mean, I guess it depends where you are, because there's are places that restrict you and don't let you camp. So you got to watch out with that. But just in general, like it's still awesome. You just go anywhere, do whatever you want. Just life without a plan, and enjoy the moment.
Dude, so you do the short term rental stuff. So that's have you ever thought about doing the tiny house thing?
Not as a rental, no. I have a project, a dream, I guess you could say, about building another camper kind of thing. I bought a little truck, a little 4-wheel drive truck, and I want to build a camper on top of it and have a little more mobility, less space inside maybe, but more capable to go, on bad roads. But that's just, just for traveling for myself. The tiny home thing idea for like rentals, no, I haven't given it much thought. Yeah, I don't know. It's not, hasn't come up, I guess. But also, just the location I have by the beach and stuff, like it's a little bit more geared towards like the bigger houses and stuff, a little more luxurious. And then in the city, I don't know. I just, again, like it's a beach town, so people kind of are looking for that like nice getaway, and they're looking for like the alternative to the resort. But if you have to compete with a resort, I don't know. Might be worth looking into.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people here that have built. The cool thing is, right, is wherever you're living now, you just say that's your short term, and then you have that rented while you're building your tiny house. And as the tiny house is getting built, you live in it while it's getting built. So like, yeah, maybe you can't be in there all the time, but at least you have a place to sleep. You build the outside first, the frame first with the top, so you don't have to worry about the weather. But then when it's done, it's, I don't know, let's say in Mexico, it's probably like $50,000 or less to build. And it's super nice, modern style. It's on a trailer, so you can pick it up and move it if you want, but you find a good spot, maybe build a little deck. You're good with your hands. Maybe just build a little deck on it, put some benches, some chairs on there. And you got a house that you built for $60,000 that you're renting, $150 a night.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's an interesting idea. I'll have to think about it. I guess it's definitely doable. I mean,
and you could park it on the beach.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that, man. I miss Australia and that freedom. To be honest, I was starting to think like I've been programming a lot here, just for fun, writing some small like Instagram bots and stuff, and writing some other programs that I just to get my back into engineering again, because I'm an electrical engineer. And I was just
Yeah.
thinking like, how cool would it be if I, started programming again, and then bought another van and just started traveling through South America again with the van, while spend 4 days programming and then the next 3 days traveling with the van. And since you can work remotely with programming, I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
that this is the thing, right? Is like it's 2,000 something dollars for a studio here in LA. And if not, you have to go like an hour out of the city, or like 40 minutes out of the city, to find something any cheaper. So you might as well just go be a programmer and live in Colombia, where the rent is like 500 a month, and then all the rest of the money you just pocket it.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, there's a question about this, so I don't want to get into it too much until we actually get there. But yeah, I mean, if you can figure out a way to work remotely, yeah, I don't see why not. Like, it's hard to build a house remotely, right? And it's hard to do it's at rental units remotely. But I did have one of the units, my main unit in town. I had it while I was traveling, and I had a property manager, and I did all stuff online. And yeah, it works. But there's nothing like, the owner or the person that has a skin in the game to do the actual face-to-face interactions. That's just going to make it obviously a lot better. But yeah, if you find something like programming, man, like, or whatever, like writing, or, I mean, with media and everything nowadays being so electronic, it's definitely, there's no reason not to work remotely,
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, we'll jump into it then, since and we'll try to get to that question relatively quickly. But what's everything been like, with the adjustment from coronavirus to now? Was everyone kind of taking it seriously? Was the public taking it seriously? Because I know, for example, Mexico's very social. Like any Latin American country, you got the family and the friends, and there's always something to do with them: barbecues, dinners, go out for drinks, whatever, dancing. And I know that coronavirus probably hit relatively quickly. And then, what was the general public stance on it? Were they accepting and saying, okay, social distance, let's do it, let's stick together and not do it? Or were they kind of pushing back and saying, this is bullshit, we're going to keep living life? How'd that progress?
Unfortunately, I think it was more of the latter. I think it's curious though. I mean, I guess I'm going to kind of contradict myself, but on the one hand, a lot of people don't believe it. I saw memes of this coming out of the US of like, half the people in the world think this is a hoax. And that was happening in Mexico too. A lot of people were like, what are you talking about? Whatever, it's just a cold. Get out of here. That's ridiculous. But then there was another very large section of the population that was actually criticizing our president specifically, but also other public, like local governors and stuff like that, because they weren't taking it seriously. So there was a point, at the beginning, where first few weeks maybe, when, let's say, the U.S. had a lot of cases. It had already been happening in China. It already happened in Italy, and other places in Europe, and then the U.S. was getting pretty bad, and nothing had happened in Mexico yet. So those like a couple of weeks there where people were just kind of like, what's going on? Like, this is ridiculous. Most people in Mexico, right? And then maybe after about 2 weeks, that's when a lot of people in Mexico started like calling out the president specifically, like, this guy's not taking this seriously, not closing down flights, not closing down, like, not enforcing, but not recommending social distancing, not doing anything. I mean, he's a joke in general, but he just handled it really poorly. And then, but even then, once he did kind of realized he was messing up, and asked people to be more responsible and stay at home. They did like this huge social campaign on TV, radio, and social media, where they're like had a tagline and everything: "Please stay at home, keep your distance." And once that happened, much more people, like probably, I would say the majority, however you want to put that into percentages, did stay at home, social isolate, just kind of cut down their activity to the minimum. And then, of course, shortly after that, all the hotels closed, right? Specifically here in this area, everything closed down. So then people that were like, no, I can't stay at home, I got to go to work. Well, guess what? You can't go to work. So that helped. A lot more people stayed. But even throughout, there have been a lot of people that kind of don't believe it, or just kind of have that mentality. And this is kind of, at least in Mexico, it's kind of a Mexican thing where you're like, you know what, like, we got to enjoy life while we can. You know, there's a lot of sayings in Mexico, you know, like, el dinero es para gastarse, you know, money's to be burned, money's to be spent. You know, so like, enjoy the moment. So it's like, people are like, if you're going to die from a cold, you're going to die, like, don't worry about it. And there's continued to be like pushback for a lot of people. And then a lot of people are, you know, conspiracy theorists, and it's political and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not, you know, going to push that aside, saying that it's true necessarily, but there has been pushback. And then furthermore, when you mentioned like people getting together, I was doing a remodel project, and at one point I took one of my workers home. He was in the town next to us, it's about 5. And I was driving up the street in his neighborhood, and like 2 blocks before getting to his house, there was like a big table. Not a big table, but like maybe like a 4-person table on the sides. So not the square one, but the size of the bigger rectangle, like plastic tables, you know?
Yeah.
Hold out legs. And there was like 7 or 8 people sitting around playing loteria, which is like bingo, Mexican bingo. And I was like, guys, like, what are you doing? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, everyone go home, like, stay away from each other. And they would have gotten arrested. If the cops had come, they would have at the very least broken it up and told them to go home, because that was the indication by the governor at this point. But they might have also gotten arrested for doing that, but they still were, you know. So like, there's levels, and I think that's kind of the case everywhere. I think there's some people that pay attention, listen, and are a little bit more cautious. There's some people that are just kind of like, that's ridiculous, I'm not going to follow, I don't feel like it. So I think that definitely happened here, like in other places in the world.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And an example of that also is, I messaged my family yesterday, or not yesterday, maybe 4 days ago, and said, hey, why don't we get together for like a quarantine barbecue, right? For example, my whole family's been taking it super seriously for like 2 months now, 2.5 months. Before even the lockdown happened, we started quarantining ourselves. And I told them, hey, we've all been good. Why don't we all go shopping at Costco Friday and then not go out of the house the whole week? So from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the whole week. And then let's get together the next weekend when we're all for sure haven't been exposed, all this other stuff. Like, let's still take it seriously, but let's have some face-to-face interaction. And my brother, who's also a programmer, he's like, nope, I've been good so far. You know, I'm not jumping out now. I'm not going to do something stupid. I'm going to stay inside the house and not go out. And I was the one like, let's get together. So I kind of feel like an idiot for that. But I mean, he's right. And then again, he's, you know, we do all kind of want to get out and have some social interaction. How long ago was it when that whole thing started? You said the police could have given a ticket. They could have given them a ticket. When was that? Did that start in March or?
Oh, damn. When was that? When did they got really serious here when I mean, we got like roadblocks and stuff, like couldn't get into certain places if you didn't have like, you didn't live there, you got like a really good reason to be there. And when that got super serious was right before Semana Santa. So I believe that's the 5th. I think that was Monday or Friday the 5th of last month. So we're just over a month now. And the reason that was the time to lock down is because Holy Week, Semana Santa, is like probably the biggest holiday in Mexico for Mexicans. And I clarify the difference because, like, obviously in the tourist place, we get a lot of tourism from the US, Canada, and Europe, and there's other peak seasons for them. But for Mexico's traveling within Mexico, for Mexicans traveling within Mexico, the Semana Santa is the biggest. And we have particularly one big city close to us, Guadalajara, it's the capital of the state of Jalisco, which is where Vallarta is. And they all have to drive into Nayarit, which is the state I live in, and then out of Nayarit again to go to Vallarta, or they stay in Nayarit as well. We have a lot of tourism. So, in order to stop people, one of the main things you do in Semana Santa is you go to the beach. So everyone that lives in the center of the country just like jumps out to the coast. So that's when everyone's like, by this point, the federal government had caught on, like, telling everyone to be careful, blah, blah, but nothing was enforced, right? It was just like voluntary isolation. But people were like, no, people aren't going to listen, and people didn't, actually. So they started setting up roadblocks, and the government said, like, listen, like, if you're out, you'll get a warning. You don't have a reason to be out, you'll get a warning, and we'll register that. And if you're out again, you get arrested. And I think it's like 72 hours in jail or something. Like, they're not messing around. Like, if you get arrested for just, because you felt like you wanted to go sunbathe or something, like, the beaches are closed, for example, right? So you can't go to the beach. So, like, if you feel like you want to go sunbathe just because, and they arrest you, like, you're spending a couple nights in jail.
You're gonna spend 3 days sunbathing in jail.
Yeah. So that's when they got really strict. And what happened here is that hotels closed. The government said, hey, no tourism, like, no going on vacation, like, stay put, yada, yada. And a lot of the townspeople, by this point, we had cases, right? Specifically in Guadalajara, there were cases of coronavirus. And down here at the coast, we were still pretty cool. Like, no, we didn't know about any cases. None of them have been reported. So we're like, oh, we're healthy. The people coming from the big city on vacation are not healthy. Let's keep them out. So a lot of the towns around here put roadblocks at the entrance to the town. Like, the towns that were kind of like at the end of the road that could block it off did that. And then after about a couple of weeks of the townspeople being the ones that are regulating the entrance and exit into the town, the police took over and they reinforced it. And throughout, both the town people and the police force have been, like, monitoring the beaches and whatnot and closing everything down. So yeah, that's been what was it, 15 or 16? Like that. So yeah, just about a month and 10 days that's been going on. But it was the most strict for about the 2 weeks of about to the end of last month.
What is that? That's kind of near, what is that, April? That's April 5th. So when was Thanksgiving? I mean, when was Easter?
Well, so like Friday or that Friday was like Holy Friday.
Yeah. Okay.
That's when it got really, like, when they got serious around here.
Yeah, maybe they were just waiting, huh, until the religious holidays were done before they did some huge restrictions.
Well, no, they did it, like, for the holiday. So, like, they told people to stay home, and they figured most people would pay attention. But the holiday is such an ingrained part of our society. Like, you go out, you go party, and you go to the beach, and you go camping during this day, and it's kind of like it's such a deep part of our culture. Like, you're like, what? My grandparents did this every year of their life. My parents did this every year of their life. I've done this every year of my life. I'm not going to stop because the government tells me not to. So, because, like, that's just kind of how it is. It's just something that's so common. People can't really comprehend not doing it. So that's why they got really strict when it was time for everyone to go out and do that. And even with those restrictions, there's a development a little bit south of me, in the Bay, and if you look it up, it'll come up. And there were 2 ladies from Guadalajara that tested positive for coronavirus, and then still decided to come on vacation and went and got into this resort development condominium thing, and they ended up closing the entire resort off. The staff couldn't leave. None of the guests could leave. Like, they just quarantined the entire complex for multiple weeks because these 2 ladies were so self-centered. I can't understand this stuff. People can be this shitty because they're like, oh, I don't care if I'm sick. I'm still going on vacation. All right, that's pretty ridiculous. But because they knew there were going to be people that didn't care like that, that's when they got strict enforcing that sign. So yeah,
That's crazy. That's almost like a cruise ship style quarantine.
it was. Yeah.
Like, they come in and just shut down the whole hotel. I know in other countries you can get in serious trouble for what those people did.
Well, I haven't followed up, and a lot of the questions you have are, I don't know, because I try to stay away from news. I feel like it's fairly negative, and I don't need that energy in my life. So I don't know a lot of the stuff, and I haven't followed up to what happened to these ladies. But apparently, they were talking about very severe, kind of penalizing them in some way. I don't know if it was jail, but yeah, no, they were supposedly going to have to pay for what they did.
It's stupid. It's seriously stupid. There were people I talked about this with another friend on the same podcast. There were people in South Korea. It was like some churchish cult, whatever, and they tested positive. They actually actively tried to get the coronavirus, and then the whole church pretty much had it, and they were going around like spitting on elevator buttons, like licking things, like spitting on handrails. Man, like, serious. And you know what? The government charged them for murder. Not murder, but I think they're in serious. I need to read about what happened to them. But yeah, it's like some attempted murder. It's something bad, man. It sounds so irresponsible to do something like that, but
That's a whole other level. I mean, these ladies were just like incredibly selfish. I mean, like, because their actions could have, I don't know if it did, but could have very easily led to people's deaths, right?
yeah.
The development that they were at, like, there were definitely older people there, very at risk. And because they couldn't be denied their little beach weekend, here some people might die. Like, what? I mean, I can understand if you're a carrier going somewhere and getting other people sick because you don't have any symptoms and you feel fine. Like, well, that's, you don't know you're doing it. But if you already know you're sick, like, come on, stay.
Some people, man, some people just don't. I mean, that's the thing, though. Some people take it seriously and some people don't. But even if you don't believe it, if you think even that it's a conspiracy, I mean, that's your opinion. I'm not going to say you're right or you're wrong. But what is right and what is known is that this thing is killing people. So whether you think it's a conspiracy or not, don't put other people at risk.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Understand,
but and as far as testing goes, do you know anything about, you said they were tested, but how is testing? Do they have a hotline that you call and they say, yep, you have symptoms, we'll send someone to come test you? Or are they not testing? Do you know what's going on with that?
So I only talked, I called 2 hospitals to figure it out, but they're trying to find out a month ago or something for some other reasons for some clients of mine. And the only way you can get tested here, this is what they told me, is that if you had symptoms and a doctor like ordered it for you, kind of like a prescription, So a doctor had to say like, so and so needs a test for COVID-19. Go give it to them. You can't just like voluntarily say, hey, I feel bad, I think I have it, and I want to be tested. They just weren't available.
Do you feel like they're representing the test properly? Are they reporting the test? I know one person that got tested here, they weren't, or that was sick here, they sent her home without being tested and obviously didn't report. So how's the representation going on in Mexico of the virus?
Yeah, I think in general, the transparency of information in Mexico is not that great. And this is not an exception. I don't think even a third of the cases are probably being reported. A lot of people probably get sick, and because they're healthy, just kind of shrug it off as a cold. Don't even tell anyone besides their family that lives in the house with them. So definitely the reporting is not happening at a trustworthy level. Also, the president, when this all started, was definitely not being serious enough about it. So there was a meme that went around that was like the Secretary of Health whispering her and the president, they're whispering to each other, and he's like, hey, how many cases do we have of COVID-19? And the Secretary of Health answers back like, however many you want to say, Mr. President. So that was poking fun at the fact that he wasn't taken seriously. But it does highlight the fact that like the reporting in Mexico of the cases don't necessarily represent the reality. And I was talking to another friend, I'm like, yeah, well, apparently there's 5 cases in the hospitals more or less close to here. And she's like, yeah, but according to who? Like, who's confirmed that? And I was like, well, just because it's not confirmed by authority doesn't mean it's not true. And I'm like, on the contrary, there's probably a lot more than what we know because they're not confirming them even when they know they're there. And she's like, yeah, you're probably right. So yeah, definitely whatever numbers you see on the internet, I trust more like the estimates, the guesstimates from the experts than official numbers.
Yeah, me too. And do you think it's because of a lack of testing is why they're not reporting them, or is it just intentionally to keep the numbers looking down to not scare people?
No, I think more of it is just kind of like a habit, almost you could say. So a big part of it is just that they're not testing people. Either we don't have the tests, or they're too expensive, or whatever. But another part of it is just kind of like we don't have that like maybe infrastructure or habit of always recording and reporting everything. And therefore, like when something like this comes around, like you can't expect people's entire modus of operating to like change so that they're really specific on writing everything down and reporting everything perfectly. Like it's not going to happen. Like flipping the light switch. It's just kind of going to continue the way it has been. So if it hasn't been very, very precise in the past, like it's probably not going to be very precise now. But definitely a big thing is that we just probably don't have enough tests. So like mass testing and testing every single human in a population, like that's probably the best way to know what's going on. But that costs a lot of money. So that's definitely a big factor.
Yeah, they're not testing everybody here, and I think it's due to the lack of tests, but it's kind of fueled the fire as well, because some people, like the conspiracy people that think that this is all a hoax, they're using that as kind of like a defense thing as well. They're saying, oh, well, some of the deaths they're reporting as COVID-19, but it was a heart attack, and like the hospitals are over, they're exaggerating situations. They're saying that there's more deaths so that they can get more money. And I just think that's all ridiculous.
Yeah, it's wild, man. The whole situation is pretty wild. And
yeah.
On one level, like I can kind of understand the conspiracy theories and kind of almost like agree with them. Like someone on the other side of the country tells me that 10 people died, some doctor, some expert, that 10 people died from coronavirus. And I'm like, whoa, damn, 10 people died from coronavirus. But do I really know that they died from coronavirus? Like, I know. I'm not there running tissue samples, right? But that's really what they died from. So, like I think it's good to question stuff, and having a little bit of doubt in what you're being told is healthy. So yeah, who knows? Who knows what's going on?
Yeah, but it's kind of like if we're low on tests as well, and somebody died that we are pretty sure that they had the coronavirus or COVID-19, why would we waste a test testing a dead person as well, somebody who's already passed? So we could only assume saying, yeah, he died of a heart attack, but look at his lungs, they were full of liquid. Like, we're going to say that this was coronavirus, COVID-19 was the cause because he wasn't getting maybe enough oxygen, which then caused his heart to fail. And there are a lot of I just think that I don't want to say that it's a trust issue that people have. Like you mentioned, is like someone says that 300 people died on the other side of the country, but I wasn't there to see it. And it's like, man, does that change really anything? It seems like that's how people want to believe it, is I have to be there to believe it. Well, you can't be there for every situation. Like, there are people dying in Africa of hunger. Are you just going to not believe it because you're not there to see it? And I think that's how a lot of people are, though. Show me a picture that the earth is round. Well, I show you a million, but then you'll say, oh, they're photoshopped, and the earth is flat. Because I see it my view of it when I look out there is it's flat, and so it's like, I don't know, it's this whole I have to be there to believe it kind of thing. But it's happening. People are going to the hospital sick. Stay inside.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a trust factor that needs to be implemented, and society doesn't work without it. Yeah.
And if they diagnose you over the phone, so this happened to my friend in Colorado, is she got diagnosed over the phone. She went to the hospital. Everyone's like, yeah, you have COVID-19. Go home and quarantine yourself. They didn't test her at all. So do they say over the phone, for example, hey, yeah, you have it. We recommend staying home for 2 weeks. Do they do that over the phone, or do they test? I guess you need a doctor's order.
Yeah, so I can imagine that did happen in many cases. I don't know for sure. But when I called, I have a surrogate grandfather here, and his daughter wanted to come down, and she's from Seattle, and at the time Seattle was like the hotbed. Right? It was
at the beginning, yeah, it was crazy at the beginning.
Yeah, so she's like, well, I want to come down, but I want to take care of my dad, and coming down to potentially kill him, so that's not exactly taking care of him. So I was like, well, why don't you just come down, get tested, isolate for 2 weeks somewhere else, a hotel or whatever. Hotels are still open then. And then you can go be with your dad and take care of him. And that's when I called, and they're like, no, we're not giving you tests unless you're very ill. So I don't know how it would work with some people getting diagnosed maybe over the phone.
Yeah. Were you guys also, since you talked to the hospital, were you guys also having problems in the hospital? Too many people, hospitals overran, kind of this whole influx of people. Did it ever get out of hand, for example, in Mexico?
No, at least, overall, I think in Mexico it did go around again. I stay away from news and statistics about things like this for the most part, so I'm not the most reliable source. But I do know that in Vallarta, at least in our area, we never got overwhelmed. I know that our voluntary isolation was enacted, you could say, sooner than in places like the U.S. So even though we were criticizing our president for not doing it soon enough, in a timeline of from first case to full-on pandemic, we enacted stay at home sooner. So I feel like overall, I could be wrong, but overall, we have had less severe results or effects from it because of that. And it's here in my area, and this I do have it confirmed from a doctor. A couple doctors, we've never gotten like overwhelmed.
Right.
So that's been good.
Yeah, I guess most countries have drifted away from this herd immunity kind of idea, and now we're all waiting on a vaccine. I think California is also trending towards the same. Sweden took the herd immunity approach, and they're kind of paying for it now, but I think in the long run, they'll be more or less safe in the next, I don't know, few months here. But a lot of countries have taken the vaccine approach, because I know, especially in California, we haven't had the explosion of cases like New York did. And that was because right when it happened in New York, we kind of implemented the quarantine, so everyone stays home. I know, yeah. as you've seen, I don't know, are there people protesting in Mexico?
No one's protesting. As far as I know, I've seen little snips of video of people protesting in the U.S., but I haven't. As far as I know, it's not happening there.
Man, it seems like every time we go to the beach, there's a protest here. I went to visit my mom last weekend in Seal Beach, and we drove up through Huntington and Long Beach, and there were police everywhere, and we talked to them, and they said, yep, there was just a protest up here. So it seems like every day now, there's people out there marching around with no masks on, protesting, and it's like, dude, what are you guys doing? But again, they're just uninformed, I think, and they think it's all a hoax. But yeah, I mean, you can't control everybody, I guess, and there's always going to be those people that are protesting. But going back to the herd immunity thing, is when you think about what happened in New York and in Italy, and these like huge explosions of like the virus taking complete cities, hospitals being overran, people working like 19-hour days in hospitals, that didn't happen here, and it didn't happen in a lot of countries that I have talked to. So I think right when it happened in New York, California shut down, and because they shut down so quickly, there hasn't been many cases here, which is good, and it's bad. Because it's good because not a lot of people have gotten sick, and not a lot of people have died in hospitals, but it's bad because when we do open up again, we do have a major airport here, LAX, and I mean, we're probably going to get it again.
So we'd be getting sick.
What'd you say?
Like, because a lot of people haven't gotten sick, you don't have the herd immunity, so you're going to be at higher risk once you do open up.
Yeah, when we do open up, there's going to be a chance of another peak. And we talked about it before, this like quarantine bubble. Right when it pops, people are not going to want to go back into quarantine. And like, if a second hump comes, if the virus starts to have an outbreak in LA, which I'm sure it'll have an outbreak in some cities, hopefully not to the extent of what happened in Milan or what happened in New York, but there's going to be a second peak. And after that, who's going to want to go inside? Man, like, I've canceled 3 trips already. I was supposed to come down. I was supposed to join you in Mexico, come down there and say what's up in Puerto Vallarta. And then there was another trip in a month back to Germany for 2 months. So, man, I'm at the point. I told you, I asked my family for a barbecue. I'm at the point of like exploding already. And if they say get back inside, obviously I'm not going to take any precautions, because I don't want to kill an older person, or I don't want to be infected and infect somebody else. So I'm going to go back inside. But I have a feeling a lot of people, once quarantine ends, they're going to like take that breath of fresh air and not want to go back to avoid a second hump.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there is going to be a big, like exodus or exodus from homes, I guess you could say it is. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be, everyone is predicting that second wave of the disease
Mm-hmm.
when everyone stops being careful and it's not completely gone. So hopefully it doesn't actually happen. I'm in favor of the herd mentality. I don't, just in general, shooting yourself full of chemicals just because is not something I think is great. I'm not against Western medicine. I use it, and if the doctor wants to do something with Western medicine, I'm usually all for it, unless there's a really good alternative with holistic medicine. But just overall, like as a go-to, like one and only alternative, I don't think vaccines are so great. So herd immunity, I guess, in my opinion, would be a really good way to go about it.
Yeah, I would love to have this herd immunity idea. But when you think about herd immunity, it's also, you start to have to think a little bit about Darwinism and like survival of the fittest, right? Because it's kind of what you'll embark on if you start to let your population get the virus, is you're going to have this, older people are going to be dying and younger people are going to be super sick, but probably going to live. But it's also then again, yeah, like survival of whoever's the most fit will move on.
I mean, I guess you could always hope for the alternative that it's like you get people sick on purpose or vaccinated who you know have a very high chance of surviving it, and then you make sure that they are very careful so that they don't give it to the people that won't have it, but that they still, those people that have gotten the treatment, as we call it, do still serve as a buffer. But obviously that is very hard to control.
Yeah. I mean, it would be kind of nice to if there is a vaccine, to vaccinate the older population, or even, vaccinate the older ones, so they have a more of a fighting chance if they do get infected again. Hopefully their antibodies are strong enough. And then kind of just open it up and say, hey, young ones, whoever's young, or if you have asthma or something, or maybe some pre-existing condition, maybe choosing the vaccine is an option. But as far as like you and I, who are healthy, young, we stay fit, we exercise, we can probably fight this thing. So it's almost like you can make the decision to say older people get it, people that have pre-existing conditions get the vaccine, young people, healthy people, get out there and live your life. And if you get it, just take it seriously, quarantine for a couple of weeks. But yeah, hope for the best. Like a combination of vaccine and herd immunity a little bit.
But what's up with the vaccine? Is there one?
No, last thing I heard about it was our president put in like a $1 trillion stimulus package to get a vaccine, and they were hopefully going to have, this was the goal, 300 million vaccines, which is just under the US's population of 330 million. So 300 million vaccines ready and available. January 1st. So at the beginning of next year, hopefully have a usable vaccine. Jesus, I mean, I still think that's a long shot, man.
Yeah, I mean, by that point, it's not going to be necessary, in my opinion. Really, like that, infectious diseases. I mean, we've had, the bird flu, and we had influenza, and we've had SARS, and all these things, and they kind of run their course. Spending $3 billion to get a cure for something that is no longer a threat. I don't know if that's best.
Bro, $1 trillion.
Sorry?
$1 trillion.
Oh.
$1 trillion. That's 1,000 billion.
That's insane.
$1 trillion to have 300 million vaccines by January 1st.
That sounds ridiculous to me.
Yeah, but going back to this, what you said about the bird flu, influenza, that's the bird flu is the H1N1, I think. Swine flu. These are all actually strands of influenza. The SARS one is different. But the problem with the H1N1 and the bird flu and the normal influenza is they're all the same virus, but the protein layer on the outside of the envelope has changed, which means the antibodies that you build up for one will not work on the other because it doesn't recognize the envelope that contains the viral load. So you have this, like, you have antibodies for one, but then it doesn't help against the other one. But it's the same. The problem is it's the same freaking virus, but your body doesn't recognize it. So that's what we're hoping to get rid of with the SARS, right? Is we're hoping to develop a vaccine that works to kill this thing. It's not alive, but to destroy the virus now.
Yeah.
And hopefully have herd immunity now before the virus mutates that protein layer on the outside. So we didn't catch influenza fast enough. So now we have H1N1, we have H1N3, we have the H and N are the proteins that are on the outside of the envelope for the viral load. So if you have H1N1, which is the swine flu, if you get an injection, or Spanish flu, if you get an injection, a vaccine for that, then you build the antibodies to fight that envelope. But there's also H1N3. So now what you have the vaccination for does not work now on the H1N3 because your body doesn't recognize the outside protein structure of that. So we're trying to get rid of this SARS-CoV-2. We're trying to get it out of here before it mutates, because if it mutates, we're going to have another influenza.
Okay.
That just doesn't go away. It's going to be another flu shot that we're going to need every single year or whatever. You know, it's going to be really terrible if this thing gets out, because it'll be around for ever again, and it'll keep mutating, and we can't get rid of it. And now we'll have to worry about the flu and this every year. And the problem with the SARS that's different than the flu causes a fever, you have a possibility of death, but once it goes away, you're good. SARS, on the other hand, once you have it and once it damages the inside of your lungs, like it does, like it starts to like scar the inside of your lungs, and you just lose lung capacity. So you won't be able to have fully functioning lungs ever again. It's almost like you went having it for 2 weeks. If you have it for 2 weeks or a month, it's almost like you've been smoking for 10 years.
Is that the same with this one, the COVID?
Yeah, SARS. This is SARS-CoV-2. If you have COVID-19, which is the disease that comes from the virus, if you have this, you will have. That's why they can diagnose you with chest X-rays, because it builds up so much fluid in your lungs. It's like a pneumonia. You almost have a pneumonia in your lungs, and your body starts to fight the disease, but it gets confused. So your own immune system starts to almost attack itself, and it starts to really damage, like tear the inside of your lungs. That's why it becomes hard to breathe. And once you've had scarring, or once you have, tears on the tissue of your lungs, your body will heal it. But you know what happens with scars, and I'll have scars on this hand, but scars, no hair grows from them again. They obviously can't absorb oxygen again if it's your lungs. So then you lose a little bit of your lung capacity.
Okay.
So we don't have tests on SARS-CoV-2, but we have the tests, the long-term effects from SARS-CoV-1, and it's more or less the same disease. It's an upper respiratory infection. The virus causes an upper respiratory infection, but if you get it, yeah, the long-term damage is pretty bad if it turns out to be a pretty drastic one. I did an interview with my brother, who's a virologist, and he says, it's so funny. He's like, man, we talked about the long-term damage. He said, man, it's really bad to get it. And he says, most of my friends would rather get something like herpes than get this virus because of the long-term damage. And I told him, I think most of my friends would rather get this than herpes. And he says to me, he says, hey man, most of your friends probably have herpes already. I was like, what? I'm like, man, shows what you think of me, brother.
Yeah, right.
So funny. But yeah, hopefully they get the vaccine. Hopefully we get rid of this thing. What is your opinion on everything going online? We wanted to talk about this earlier. So
Yeah.
you run an Airbnb business out there, and if anyone goes to Puerto Vallarta, you have to check out Mars Airbnbs. I'll put a link in the description. They're freaking beautiful. You sent me like 4 of them. Man, they're awesome looking on the beach. One of them's at like this all-inclusive hotel thing. Freaking awesome. But what do you think about everything going online? You think it'll stay online? Have hospitals or have schools gone online? Has work gone online in Mexico? What's been going on with it?
I don't think there'll ever be a full substitution for like in-person, face-to-face, even the contact, shaking someone's hand. Obviously, if you're friends, the hug or whatever. Like you can't get away from that, right? I think that'll always be part of the world or society. But I do think that over the past 5 to 10 years, like things have gotten more and more remote, more and more connect over digital platforms. And I think at this stage that we're at now, a lot of things could have been done that way that weren't done that way. I mean, like, I have a simple example. Like, we can pay our power bills and we can pay our phone bills and everything online. And my mom still went to the shop and paid them. I went to the service provider and paid them. And it's like, well, we don't need to do this, but we just kind of do. So we have, but the technology is already there, or has been there maybe for a few years now, where a lot of stuff can be taken off of can go remote. And it just didn't because people were mostly accustomed to something else. And now that we got forced into that, I do feel like a lot of it is going to stay there. And a lot of people, like we were talking about earlier, like I was saying, if you can do your job remotely, like I don't see why you wouldn't. It's a win-win. A lot of people before were having this idea, like, like, oh my God, like those people that can do remote jobs are so lucky. It's like, well, really, you never knew it, but you can too, right? And now people are really, and I think a big thing, when I talk to a lot of friends, I have friends that done like remote year and stuff, programs like that. And a lot of the things that people talk about that's the hardest. Obviously, the first thing is taking the step yourself. But the second thing is like convincing the people you're working for that it's going to be okay. It's going to work. I'm not leaving. You're not going to pay me to be, sipping Mai Tais on the beach. Like, I'm actually going to be doing my job. And companies and bosses have a hard time accepting that. And I think now that they had to accept it because of this disease, they'll be a lot more likely to continue doing it. People are like, hey, I don't want to leave home. I like working at my pajamas. We just keep it like this, boss. And the guy's like, yeah, sure, it's been working, right? So why not? So I think there's going to be like a huge jump up, or it's going way, way up, and it's going to stay pretty high up moving forward for like social or working remotely. I think a lot of people that can go back to work are going to go back to work or to their offices or whatever, just because after a fashion, like it is efficient, more efficient for a lot of things. But I definitely think it's going to be, this situation is going to serve kind of as a catalyst to expand that amount of remote work that's done around the world, for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. A lot of companies I know have spent so much time, so much money taking things online. I guess it'll be nice to keep it there. This is like a lot of companies in Germany, my friends said, are using this as like a trial period, to test if things work better online. Because if they do, think about it. If you run a business and you have, let's say you're a small business owner, you have 8 people working for you, and you're coming into the office and everyone's working on their computers, and the only time that you guys all really talk is like over lunch or maybe in a small meeting. If they work, let's say 3 of the 8 or 4 of the 8, let's say half of them are night people and half of them are morning people. So half of them wake up at 5:30 in the morning get their things together slowly, but they go to sleep at 9. And then the other half would like to wake up at 9, but they don't mind working until 2 o'clock in the morning, you know? So
Yeah.
it'd be nice if, because I feel like those night people, for example, I feel like the morning is completely ruined for them. Like they have to wake up early, go, 7 o'clock, they have to get to their job. And then the first like 2 hours at the job, they're like, like sleeping, sleeping on the job. You might as well give them the freedom to work whenever they feel the most productive. And I think with that kind of mentality, I really think that businesses will prefer to give the person the freedom, because people need their job. First of all, they need to pay rent, mortgage, whatever. So it's not like they're just going to stop working. I think they'll actually work harder if you give them the freedom to work whenever they want. They'll work like a 15-hour day if they feel involved enough and they feel comfortable. But when you say like you have to work from 8 till 12, and then you can take a 1-hour lunch only, and then you have to come back and work from 1 till 5, whatever it is, like, man, it's a lot for somebody. If you say, hey, take a 2-hour lunch if you want, relax, go have a nap after lunch, have a siesta, just get your work done, I really think they'll be more productive.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are times, probably in every business, and specifically more, and then there are businesses that are more reliant on this, where like you kind of do need to be in person to get things worked out. But overall, like, I mean, working remotely can be incredibly efficient. And just the thing, like, when you take out like transportation, it's a huge time saver. Like think about, like, I live in a small city. Vallarta is a small city. I don't even live there. But like, it's not that big of a deal. 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, you'll get from one side of town to the other. But like, if you think of people that live like in LA, or people that live in like the other big cities of the world, like Mexico City, like my dad, he's retired now. My dad left his house at, I think, 7:30 in the morning and didn't get home until 11 o'clock at night, and did an 8-hour workday.
Wow.
That's transportation, So, like, if you can take all those hours of wasted time driving around or transportation, whether it's bus or whatever, like, if you take that out, like, hell yeah, that's going to make people happy, right? So it makes things cheaper at the end of the day. So, like, an architect, let's say an architect, I do construction as well. If an architect has to drive to your job site or to your office, let's say you haven't started building yet, to show you the plans and go over the plans and then drive back, but he can only charge you for the time that he's sitting there with you, or he's going to jack that price up so he can cover the cost of the transportation, right? Because that's the time that he's. But if he's going to just talk to you and then he can immediately go on and talk to somebody else because he's doing it from his desk, like, he's likely going to charge you less. There's a possibility they charge you less. So I think it is a win-win possibility, and like Zoom, which we're using right now, like with the sharing of the screen or whatever, like you can edit like AutoCAD and do all these other types of programs, design programs and graphic design and stuff like that. Like, you can actually have a productive, creative meeting on computer software remotely. So I think there is huge benefits to it, and people are gonna, maybe they're gonna be like believers now that weren't before. I think that's gonna be huge.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I just talked to my brother. I told you I'm programming again. So I just talked to him, and he's a programmer, and he's like, share your screen with me. I'm like, okay. I shared it, and I didn't know, but he just started editing stuff on my computer. Like, yeah. He's at his house. I shared my screen with him, and he just like took over my screen and was like clicking things, changing my program. And I'm like, dude, is this real? Like, are you changing it permanently? He goes, yeah, I'm altering it on your interface.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? And like on top of that is, yes, the architect will definitely charge you less, I'm assuming, unless he's just a dick architect. But he would charge you less, but also this small business owner that we referenced earlier, who has 8 employees and you know, all of them are working, they have a meeting and a lunch and whatever. They can have this 1 hour meeting every day, but they can work from home. And then he doesn't have to rent that workspace as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he could possibly, let's say his rent, we're in LA, let's say his rent is $5,000 a month for that workspace. If he doesn't have that workspace, he can hire a new employee.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's co-work spaces, right? So like if I ever at some point you need to go in and print out stuff or whatever, or you need to have a meeting, like you can use co-work spaces, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, everything's continually changing, right? I remember one of my math teachers in high school had a sticker on the back of his car that said, "The only constant is change," which was cute for a math teacher, but it's true, you know, like it's true, like everything's always changing. So I like looking at it, like let's see what positive can come of this, you know?
Yeah. I think the Hindu religion, I think it's actually not, maybe not Hindu, but Sikh Buddhism. They're the fire Buddhists, you know, the ones that light themselves on fire, kind of drastic, hectic, but their whole motto is that everything is on fire, not literally, but what they mean by fire is everything is changing. It's constantly moving. It's constantly morphing. Atoms are changing into different atoms. They're combining to make different elements, and everything is in a state of flux or a state of change. So, I mean, I really hope there's some good things come out of this. A shitty situation that could potentially have amazing repercussions, like awesome, amazing technological advancements and stuff like that, like Zoom went from a $40 million company to like a $1 billion company in a few short months because of this. But I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. When's the quarantine up? When's it all over? Or not all over, but when are they starting to loosen restrictions in Mexico?
So yeah, they started at the beginning of last month, and they said it was going to be for a month. And then towards the end of last month, they're like, no, it's going to be another month. So it's supposed to be to the end of this month, but they're doing kind of like slowly. They're kind of like opening up slowly. So like a lot of like the roadblocks are a lot more chill now. The towns are kind of like allowing more businesses to open up. So it's supposedly going to go on to the end of this month, but it's going to be like a gradual back to business as normal. So technically at the end of this month.
Are they taking steps like Austria and all these other countries are taking it in 2-week intervals? Spain, for example, our restaurants are opening this week. So, but they've been doing 2 weeks at a time to make sure that they can watch to see if another outbreak happens. So they did 3 or 4 weeks ago, they started having small businesses open, small shops open. And then 2 weeks after that, they did larger shops and malls. And now they're doing restaurants in 1 week, they'll do restaurants. So it's like these 2-week intervals to see if the numbers go up and down. Is that kind of also the approach they're taking in Mexico?
I don't know if it's quite that structured. Really, I did see a video of, I don't know, the president was talking, and then some other person stood up and outlined the plan. But I didn't have time to watch the whole video, or I got bored because it was just droning on. But there is some schedule in place. I don't actually know if they're dividing it by different types of business, like Spain. But I do know that it is a gradual thing.
Awesome. Good, man. I'm really happy that everyone's taking it seriously and this thing is going to be lifted soon, hopefully. I'm getting the itch. I'm getting the itch, dude. I want to get out. I want to get out. I'm thinking about buying a van pretty soon as well. That sounds awesome. Even living in it in a parking lot here in California would be chill.
You what?
I said it'd be even cool to just get the van and live here in California. Like Walmart lets you stay in the parking lots for free, so you might have been
Yeah,
able
you
to just chill there and then drive to the beach in the day, go work in a, huh?
You got to get a 4x4. I'm all about the 4x4 life now.
Dude, so by the way, that's all the questions. I don't know. Do you want to add anything else to that, or have you thought of anything that maybe we didn't cover?
Um, no, I think that's good. I think it's good. I didn't realize we did all the questions already. Wow. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, as far as schools go, I'm assuming school isn't in session, is it?
No, school's still closed. I did see something about schools opening back up, but I didn't confirm it. So yeah, as far as I know, they're still closed.
Yeah, they'll probably do a gradual thing with that as well. Yo, man, I was just thinking, what do you think about so my friend's a lawyer. His name's Hakeem. He's here in the States, and he said he's a defense lawyer. And we were talking yesterday. We ended up talking on the phone for like an hour and 10 minutes. But I was asking him, like, are the courthouses closed? Are you still working, or how's that whole system work? Because it seems a bit strange, right? That system. But like, well, I don't mean strange as in the lawyer system is strange, but I just mean as in general, what do you do during like this COVID-19 thing when you still have people committing crimes and have to go to the office, the law office and courtroom? And he's like, actually crime has gone down, but he says there are loads of domestic violence cases.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. Like, I know after the OJ Simpson case here in the States, if somebody files or calls the police on like a domestic violence charge, you can't just drop the charge. You can't just be like, like I overreacted that night. It just got crazy. Let's drop it. Every case has to be investigated now. So he said, yeah, so he said there's like huge numbers of domestic violence cases and this kind of thing. Has anything occurred like that in Mexico, you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's one of the campaigns going on was it was like stay at home, but then immediately followed after, like one announcement was like, if you know someone that's in a bad situation at home, or if you're in a bad situation at home, please call this hotline that they set up specifically for this time. Because Mexico is actually, that's one of Mexico's biggest problems. And I mean, that's a big claim, but we are like, I think we're like one of the first countries in the world for like femicides, translating that word in my head, and like domestic abuse towards women. So it definitely is a huge pay period. It's a huge problem here in Mexico, and B, it definitely is exacerbated when you're just locked in place at home. You can't escape that person, right? So obviously the incidents are going to go up, the mountains are going to go up, and probably going to get worse. So yeah, there is still definitely a big problem that's currently happening, for sure.
And they're putting on campaigns though, like on the TV, they say call this number if you want to talk or something like that.
I don't watch TV, but yeah, TV and radio and social media, they're all out there. Let us know if you need help.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, if anyone is suffering from domestic violence or something, say something, get out there, call a friend, even if you have to be like sneaky about it. I heard this this person the other day. It was like a TV program that I saw, or commercial maybe, or some documentary even. I don't even remember where I saw it, but she had called 911 and was like, hey, I would like to order a pizza. Like, she acted like she was calling a pizza delivery service, but she must have told her partner, I'm going to order a pizza,
Yeah, yeah.
and then got on the phone and called the police department. Was like, hey, I would like a pizza. And he goes, I think you got the wrong number. She goes, no, I would like a pepperoni as soon as possible. like this kind of thing. And then he's like,
Yeah.
oh, and the dispatcher was like, oh, wow, okay, she, this must be some serious thing. But yeah, if you're out there suffering from something like that, call, reach out, be creative. Just because it's coronavirus and they say stay at home doesn't mean you need to suffer during this time. So speak up and say something. I know in Germany they're doing that as well. So I'm glad Mexico, and hopefully in the States it's also there's hotlines you can call, hopefully. And if you feel pressured, get out, go for a walk, put your mask on, whatever, but just go up in the mountains and chill and, take the time. Everyone needs to be alone. So I'm here with my partner as well. So, it's hard to be around someone every day, all day. You learn things that you never thought you learned before, like I didn't know she wants me to have my socks off when we kiss. I didn't know that, but now I know. So, but there's these little things you learn, but
Yeah, for sure.
And what about things that people aren't really thinking about? So, I mean, that's one of them. There's going to be domestic violence, and then probably like also a baby boomers in like 9 months as well. But what about like alcohol consumption and gambling? Has all this, do you know anything about that? Have you heard anything about that or no?
Yeah, I don't know. It's different. It's going to be different depending on the state, for Mexico at least. But in Nayarit, and I believe also in Jalisco, it took them a few more weeks to do it, but they closed down all the casinos when this started. Just it's along with closing down hotels and everything else, casinos got closed down. So gambling definitely got cut, at least in that format. And alcohol is curious too, because a lot of states outlawed alcohol, or drinking. So basically prohibition. That it's said that a lot of the beer factories themselves, the alcohol factories themselves, are also closed. So I guess what they said is kind of like, if people are alone, they're not working, they're bored, what are they going to do? They're going to call up their friends. They're going to get a couple cases of beer and they're going to hang out. So in order to try to enforce the stay at home and social distancing or eliminate alcohol, that'll eliminate an incentive to socialize. So that was, I guess, some of the thinking behind it. So the state I live in, Nayarit, is, and I know one other state is still a friend that's there, Oaxaca, in the south of Mexico, have an outlaw the sale of alcohol. So that has probably helped, I would imagine, with violence, domestic violence and stuff. However, depending on where you are, the state next to you, you might be really close to it. They might still be selling alcohol, which is the case for us. So Jalisco, which is about a 45-minute drive from where I live, but I mean, you can live across the state border, and it's 10 minutes, you're at a liquor store in the other state. They're still selling it. So Jalisco is still selling alcohol. So it's kind of interesting. So some places where they haven't enacted these prohibition laws for the time being, they probably are having positive results for some things that are negative, I guess. Does that make sense? Like domestic violence and overall alcoholism. But in the other states, I would imagine people are drinking more. You're stuck at home. What do? You get drunk. So yeah, it's curious. But yeah, Mexico is at least some states in Mexico took a really strict stance on that. And I was going to say something else about alcohol, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't even think that far ahead, actually. I mean, I thought about, people maybe, being at home and like having cabin fever with a spouse, or like, learning weird things about their partners or their friends or their family when they're stuck home with them. But I didn't even think about like the overconsumption of alcohol, because I'm not a huge alcohol drinker myself. But Yeah, I know that seems to be one of the repercussions is, you know, now that everyone's kind of quarantined at home, what are you supposed to do? You can only work on your projects so long before you feel like you need a break. And
Yeah,
that's very progressive, actually, of Mexico to do that, to think about the alcoholism and then ban it in certain states. At least if some states kind of ban it, then you know, even if you are close 45 minutes, whatever, to getting it, at least you have that incentive is like, you know, it is 45 minutes. So do you really want to spend 2 hours going just to get a bottle of tequila and then coming back? Or you'll go over there and buy like 9 bottles of tequila.
I don't know. I heard these stories. I didn't notice. I didn't see it was happening. But apparently, the Walmart here in this state, the closest one to us, there's a Walmart and there's a Sam's. And apparently, they had like liquidation sales right before. Like they said on Friday, Monday there'll be no more alcohol sales, and they like dropped everything like 30-40% or more. You buy like a 12-pack for the cost of a 6-pack, and there were pictures of people with like 5 or 6 shopping carts, like little lines, like one family. Wow, like just that, you know, like just loading up. So it definitely happened. I didn't get the memo, so I didn't get that deal, unfortunately. But what I was gonna say is that Mexico has like we're accustomed to prohibition, I guess you could say. Like it's kind of like in the States where it happened once decades ago and it's never happened again because it was, you know, you hate it. Like here, it happens basically every year. So every 6 years. So right before presidential elections, there's always 2 days where you can't buy alcohol, and that's nationwide. So I think that's part of the reason why we were able to enact it. I mean, you have protesters now in the States. Imagine what would happen to people with alcohol. But here in Mexico, because we are accustomed to the government being, hey, there's no alcohol right now. We're like, oh, that happens sometimes, whatever. I think it's what made it easier for them to implement it. And overall, I think it's probably a positive thing. I don't personally like it because, you know, I don't suffer or inflict.
You could say you just want to drink, Mar. You could just say, I just want to have a drink.
Yeah, so I don't know. I do think it's a positive thing for people in that situation. Like, I don't know. I think alcohol definitely makes things worse. So those kind of things worse. So I think it's positive.
Yeah, I guess for like the casual drinker like you, or, you know, I don't drink alcohol much, but that doesn't mean I don't drink it. So I guess for the casual drinker, the responsible drinker, it is kind of like a slap in the face. Like, man, like I am stuck at home. You know, I do still have a girl that I hang out with, like, and I want to have a drink with her. You know, but do I have to drive 45 minutes to get a drink and then 45 minutes back? I lost you.
Oh, all right, I'm back. Gotta plug my phone back in.
It's dying again.
Dying again, man.
All right. Well, to be honest, I think we covered a lot of things. Do you want to say like a shout out to anybody or anything? Maybe tell people to be safe or some positivity.
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely everyone stay safe and take these. I mean, here in Mexico is kind of at the end of the quarantine. Take the time to like focus on maybe not going back to normal, but going back to something better than what we had before. There's some of that stuff going around now where people are like, hey, you know, let's take a moment to realize that maybe what we had before, even though we're missing it, wasn't exactly perfect. So let's find a way to be more environmentally friendly and just get along better with each other and with Mother Nature. I think is really important. So that's my little renaissance. Like let's try to be more friendly with the planet so we can be able to enjoy it for longer.
I love it, man. Did you watch the last podcast with Romania?
No, I haven't got a chance yet.
He says there's a joke, and he says two planets meet, and one of them's like, hey, how you going? He goes, yeah, I'm good. How are you? He goes, man, I got a disease. He goes, what is it? He goes, I got Homo sapiens. And the other planet's like, don't worry, it'll pass. But I love that message, man. Thanks for joining on the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man. It's been good. It's been fun. I'm catching up.
I love it.
Yeah, let's go tour in our camper van / 4x4.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
I'm gonna possibly build a tiny house, so I need a 4x4 to drive that thing around.
There you go. Yeah. Sweet, man.
All right. Well,
cool.
That's it. I'm gonna end it, but we can continue talking.
All right.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. Head over to Sterling's World on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button. It's completely free, and you will never miss another World Corona Chronicle or Sterling's World. Shout out to all you subscribers. I'll catch you all in the next video.